Artificial Intelligence in the Public Sector, AI and Acquisition is brought to you by HII, delivering the advantage.
Hello and welcome to Artificial Intelligence in the Public Sector, AI and Acquisition, the 6th episode for our 3rd season, produced by GovExecTV in partnership with the National Academy of Public Administration and ACT-IAC, the American Council for Technology Industry Advisory Council. I'm your host, George Jackson. AI could transform the way citizens interact with their government and the way agencies deliver services to citizens. The General Services Administration plays a leading role in both as a lighthouse account and AI application and as government's lead arm for AI acquisition. How far will the FAR need to go to get us there? To answer those questions, I have Larry Allen, Associate Administrator for Governmentwide Policy and Chief Acquisition Officer at the GSA. Sir, welcome.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Larry, I've known you for a long time, back producing Government Matters TV program here at the local ABC affiliate in Washington, D.C. You have a rich history in the roots of government contracting, decades of experience, successful advisory firm. You've been really instrumental in nonprofit organizations that lead contracting for the government. Why come back in? Why take on such a big, challenging position?
George, that's a great question. And really, the thing that drew me into government service right now is the ability to reform the acquisition system. I really think that we now have a unique opportunity in government to streamline acquisition. You know, the government spends $750 billion a year through government contracts. And the ability to lower the overhead, to streamline acquisition, to make sure that we are doing things like getting the warfighter what he or she needs in the battlefield in a more timely way. And not only getting them what they need, but getting them what the anticipated need is. What is it that they're going to need next? So, you know, a lot of people look at government acquisition and they think, well, pens, pencils, office furniture, things like that. But there are also some things that the government does that are really mission critical. And as you said, I've been in this world for a long time now. And back in the mid to late 1990s, we had an opportunity to really reform government acquisition then, and it was an exciting thing to do. And it was great to be part of it. And we were really successful. And of course, over the years since then, more and more rules have started to come back. There are more people who have forgot what we did. We have a whole new group of people in now because, you know, it's a new generation of practitioners. Seldom do you get a chance to work on acquisition reform twice in one career. And so I really feel like I have a unique opportunity to make an impact here.
You've been busy. The administration has been busy. A flurry of executive orders, memos, strategic pushes for the organization. I want to hit as many as we can in the time that we have. Let's start with OneGov. Talk about that strategy and big picture, how you hope to help drive it.
George, OneGov is a GSA's initiative to do enterprise license software for common use software. And if I've been in this business for any amount of time, you know that this certainly isn't the first time that we've tried to do this, whether it's GSA, whether it's the Department of Defense, whether it's OMB taking the lead on things, on enterprise level agreements. Some of them have been successful. Some of them have not been as successful as they could have been. But I think this initiative now is different because it's not so much that we are dragging companies into government and saying, please do this. We're actually now starting to have the companies come to us and say, hey, here's how we can be a better partner to you. And I think part of that is reducing the number of rules that those companies have to manage when they're doing business directly with the government. So our federal acquisition rewrite certainly plays into this. But I think also it's a desire and an understanding that we have a leadership team in place now that is serious about lowering costs, but also improving results for government customers. So you're already seeing that GSA has negotiated enterprise-level deals with companies like Oracle and some of the larger software companies. That's only going to continue. And the real question then becomes, once we get those in place, how do we drive that usage in the customer agencies? There's always been a tendency to say, well, I really like 99% of what you just did, but there's that 1%, so I've got to kind of go do my own thing. Well, no, the reason we put this in place is so that everybody can do it, and you're going to get unbelievable pricing, you're going to get an unbelievable level of service commitment, and you should be using those enterprise agreements first before you even think about going anywhere else, because this is going to save you money and the taxpayer money, and it really will get you where you want to go. So it's the first phase is the one we're in now, where we're putting all of the enterprise level agreements into place. The second phase is going to be making sure that we drive that usage.
A big part of that push or galvanization of forces runs through something that you've been an expert on for years: government-wide acquisition contracts, or GWACs, multiple award schedules. Big picture, I'd love some insight there too, Larry, on the direction the administration is going. You know, a lot of that strength is going to be housed in GSA going forward. What's the future of GWACs look like?
George, I think that's a very fair question. We are back in a time, again, where not so much GWACs themselves, but the proliferation of indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, multiple award vehicles means that both government and industry are having to bear an overhead burden that they shouldn't have to bear. We're back to having companies, and again, it's not just really limited to GWACs, because there are only a few of those, but there are similar contracts that look and feel like a GWAC. They're just not formally called that.
Sure.
And the result is you've got companies who have many of the same offerings on multiple contracts. They bid on these contracts. They have to manage these contracts. And what does that do? Well, that means that the government pays the price for industry having those multiple vehicles. Also means that government agencies have to manage each one of those vehicles. So I think one of the things we're looking at here very seriously is consolidation. How do you consolidate the number of indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity vehicles? And that's going to include government-wide acquisition contracts. So looking at things like, we have the GSA multiple award schedule. Inside GSA, we also have our Alliant IT program that's proven to be very popular with customer agencies. We have the Polaris program for small businesses that is just about ready to get on the football field and see some action. We also have our Oasis Plus contract for professional services, as well as some specially tailored contracts for 8A and service-disabled veteran contractors. We're going to take a look at that entire portfolio and see what makes sense. How does it all operate? Are there opportunities to integrate this? Opportunities certainly to get efficiency, but at the same time ensuring that we retain fair opportunity for small disadvantaged businesses, for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, because we understand that those are important constituencies in government contracting. So obviously we haven't gotten all the way down that road yet, but we want to go down that road, and we want to figure out what the best solutions are so that while we're being fair, we're also keeping in mind that the reason government acquisition exists is to serve the government customer. And doing that in a better and more efficient and more cost-effective way is our primary goal.
Some of the skepticism that I've heard and seen about that consolidation push is from people who say this has been done before. I mean, how would you answer that? What's the discussion like internally relative to here's how things are going to be different this time around? Here's how things are going to be more successful this time around.
Well, I think that comes from leadership. First of all, we have the president's executive orders that are our marching orders on acquisition consolidation and on redoing acquisition regulations. So we are speaking now to fulfilling a presidential executive order. That's a definitive set of marching orders, George. We also have a leadership team that is exceptionally dynamic. They come in without really having worked in government before, but with an idea of business efficiency and driving that value for the taxpayer. So it's a different team than we've ever had before to drive these changes and driving them in ways that are sustainable. Stripping down rules, stripping down contracts, and solidifying things, reducing overhead so that we don't go back to the time, really late 1980s, when GSA did all IT acquisition for everybody. We're not going to do that, but we are going to do the things that make sense to drive those common use technologies across government. And GSA is going to be the buyer and provider of choice of those solutions, not just in terms of the contracts, but in terms of the acquisition services we provide to our customer agencies.
I want to shift to AI shortly, but I have a brief follow-up relative to this. If I'm a member of the reseller community and I want to do great things for the administration and work very closely with GSA, what moves should I be making right now, adjustments to my business, so that it aligns with what you're trying to build?
George, right in your question is the word alignment, which is a word that I've heard more in the last 3 months than I think in the past 3 years. But it really is indicative of what resellers or any government contractor needs to do. They need to make sure that their services and solutions and products are aligned with the administration's priorities. That's really been a clear message that's been sent from not just GSA, but from the White House and the Office of Management and Budget. Similarly, if you're a reseller in particular, you've got to take off and hone your value statement. The government wants to do business with good business partners. And if you've got a group of leaders who aren't so familiar with how that works in government, you want to make sure that you're telling your story. What's your value? Don't assume that today's senior agency officials, whether it's GSA or other agencies, know all about your business. Why would they if you haven't gone and told them about what it is you do and how you do it? No one tells your message as well as you do. And if it's been a while since you've told that message, and it's been a while since you've honed your value statement, now's the time to take some time. Make sure that that's as sharp as you want it to be. Make sure that it's as tuned into what this administration has on its mind, so that you in turn can be a more successful business partner.
This administration certainly has artificial intelligence on its mind, and I'd like to lean into the role you see that playing in the acquisition process itself. Great promise to streamline, to make those acquisitions much more efficient. How is it starting to plug in? How is it going to plug in long term, Larry?
George, AI is going to be, it already is in government, but it's going to get much, much bigger. If you look at the people that we've brought in, not just to run GSA, but to advise in other agencies, they all have a technology background. They all are more used to working with AI already than anyone in government is. So whether it's building a new acquisition system, whether it's synthesizing comments for a public comment period, whether it's building a new way to develop government documents, those are just a couple of examples of where you're going to see AI used. But there's a presumption, George, among GSA's leadership in particular, that AI can be used to assist the workforce in a wide variety of our missions, whether it's contract writing, whether it's helping develop the next generation of cloud solutions, whether it's better managing the federal real estate portfolio, because that's a big part of what GSA does. You're going to see AI become an integrated part of what our agency is doing. And you've already started to see that, in fact, because we have GSAI, our homegrown GSA artificial intelligence solution that's being deployed in several parts of the agency right now. It's being used in the Federal Acquisition Service. It's being used in the Public Building Service. We've been encouraged to use it in our office. So I think you're going to see AI become embedded in practically every aspect of government operations.
Is that essentially like a digital assistant style tool? What is GSAI?
GSAI is kind of a chatbot on steroids. You can feed. I've actually seen it work. It's pretty neat. You feed the AI system prompts. Like, I'd like to understand what all of the statutory requirements are for government procurement. Can you identify which laws are associated with it? And they'll come right back with a list of laws that impact government acquisition, which makes our market research much easier, particularly when you're rewriting the entire acquisition regulations. Having to go through and research every little line item to see what statute it goes to, AI can assist with that. And again, that's just one example. I know we're also talking about how we can use it to make our contracts better, how we can put out better statements of work. GSA AI can help with that, and it can also help with evaluating some of the offers. Now, of course, we're not going to get contracting officers out of the loop. We're still going to have contracting officers making decisions about how the government's money is spent. But we've got a lot of ways that AI can assist in that process, and that's another role that GSA will play.
For a lot of agencies, they look to humanize those chatbots. If you're looking for a name, maybe you should just call it the Larry Allen.
I shudder to think what a Larry Allen chatbox might opine on, George, but maybe we'll name it after our acting administrator, Stephen Ahikian. That's probably better.
It might be tougher to say, but we'll table that for the time being. Larry, what about the way government purchases artificial intelligence? I mean, what needs to change there? Is there like a new schedule that needs to be built? What's the future of purchasing AI?
George, I think we're going to see AI acquisition really evolve over time. We're not totally at a place yet where this is a commodity. The AI solutions are being homegrown by both for-profit and nonprofit companies. And even though there are some similarities with existing acquisition methods, we're still forming up the boundaries for how we can best acquire AI. Right now, it's not too terribly different from things like cloud services, because you can buy a subscription to AI that'll give you, soup to nuts, whatever you decide the scope of work needs to be in there. And you pay a monthly fee for that, or you can buy it via tokens, which is kind of the provide seat, whatever, per activity. I want to do this today with AI, so I use my token to do that. Play that one AI game in the arcade, if you will. Those aren't new. Those ways of buying aren't new. You have that in government today. What is going to be key for contracting officers and others is how to identify price reasonableness. How do we get to the point where we're making sure that the government is paying fair and reasonable competitive pricing for AI solutions? That's not necessarily the easiest thing whether the government or commercial markets are talking AI implementation is still very much in the developmental phase. I think that's really what we're going to continue to see evolve in terms of AI acquisition. The more mature the market gets, the better we're going to be able to streamline our price reasonableness identification. But right now, that's going to be a little tricky, and we want to make sure we've got the right oversight and sets of tools to do that correctly.
I'm going to make a comparison to cybersecurity here, Larry. I promise I'm going somewhere with this, but the whole idea of bolt-on cybersecurity just doesn't work anymore. And as I look to the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, there's been a lot of bolt-ons over the years. And one key focus for the Trump administration is streamlining all of that stuff. An executive order came out a couple weeks ago looking at the FAR. How is your office involved in that? What are you helping to drive relative to federal acquisition regulations?
George, our office is extremely involved in that. In the Office of Governmentwide Policy at GSA, we are playing a substantial role in assisting the Office of Management and Budget in this process. Our office is taking the lead on a number of non-defense parts of the federal acquisition regulation, as you might imagine, where we are being assisted by NASA. That's also focusing a lot on the science and technology part of the acquisition rules. So if it's not a major weapons systems issue, if it's not a science and technology issue, the FAR, those parts of the FAR are being rewritten in our office. And in particular with cybersecurity, as you may know, even before this administration, there was a movement underway to consolidate all the IT rules in the FAR under a new Chapter 40. And that's going to accelerate during this FAR rewrite process. It's all of the things that contractors and government acquisition professionals need to know about IT and cyber security acquisition rules are going to be in its own FAR chapter. So suitable for reading. Whether or not the authors will feel free to autograph, I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
We've talked thus far a lot about your chief acquisition officer role, but I want to lean into that other hat for government-wide policy. I'll note rich history in government reform. Not that it's like fallen out of view, but new initiatives like 18F, Presidential Innovation Fellows, Technology Transformation Services in recent years have maybe supplanted that aspect of things a little bit. Talk about what OGP is going to be keenly focused on in the next 12 months, 18 months.
Well, George, in addition to our acquisition roles, we have been actively working on reforming what used to be known as the federal property management regulations. And that's still, I think, a fair way to identify those, because if you say we're reforming the federal management regulations, what does that mean? Well, here it means that we're reforming the government's property management rules. As you know, reducing the government's real estate footprint is a major initiative of this administration. We're working very closely with our partners in the Public Building Service to make sure they have the tools they need to make sure that the policies on how you manage government buildings are up to date. So we've initiated a complete rewrite of the federal property management rules to update them. They probably haven't been updated in at least 30 years. They need to be updated to match today's reality. How the government manages its space is different now than how it managed it even a few years ago. Are we going to have more leased space? What about owned space? And this is not only a discussion inside GSA, it's a discussion we're going to have with the Office of Management and Budget to see how they want to direct us in best uses of property management. So I have an office that has been working very, very hard on that part of it. Related to that is federal travel rules. Federal government agencies travel millions of miles a year in support of their missions, just outside of DOD even. So the government is a major consumer of federal travel solutions, and how we do that and how we ensure that we get the best value for the taxpayer from those solutions is something that I have an office working on right now, making sure that it's updated. Do the existing contracts meet the need? And we're working very closely on that aspect with the Federal Acquisition Service that owns those contracts to make sure that if everything is as up to date from a policy and regulatory standpoint as it can be, so that they can in turn put 2025, 2026 solutions in place to meet the needs of the marketplace, the federal marketplace today.
Who do you see as your key partners in helping to drive the initiatives that we've discussed so far? Is it OFPP, the Office of Federal Procurement Policy? Is it the Hill? Is it the nonprofit community? Is it contractors themselves? I mean, you know better than most that this is a community built on partnerships, on communication. Who are your key communication partners?
George, ultimately, I think we'd like to talk to all of those people, all of them. Today, we are talking more inside of government, specifically in the executive branch, although we do have people on staff at GSA who talk to Capitol Hill every single day, and that's a good thing. We want to make sure that we're keeping the lines of communication open with our congressional counterparts. But we're working not just with the Office of Federal Procurement Policy, although we work with them on a daily basis, but with the management and budget parts of OMB as well. What's our IT spend? What does our IT spend need to be? How do we support things like all of the federal advisory councils that operate in each government agency, and there are multiple ones in each government agency. So a key management focus for us and a key partner on that front has been the Office of Management and Budget. How do we want to support those? How are we going to support those advisory committees moving forward? So inside GSA, I think communication is particularly good and also very important to keep it that way, because the Office of Government Policy, my office, really plays an integral role in how both of the key services perform their missions. So whether it's the Public Building Service and making sure that they have the right tools to manage government buildings, whether it's the Federal Acquisition Service, making sure that they've got the right tools and right processes in place to manage their contracts and put new contracts in place, we have to be in constant communication. What we want to do is we want to bring industry in, and I think you'll see us doing that in several areas over the next couple of months, bringing industry more into the process. And when I say industry, that includes things like nonprofits. It includes the legal community, the Bar Association. We want to make sure we're hearing their voices. And by the way, customer agencies also have a funny way of making sure they tell you what's on their mind. So we want to make sure that we're listening to that as well.
I want to close with a pivot back to artificial intelligence. My guest next week is going to be Congressman Don Beyer of Virginia, who helps to lead the House AI Task Force. And recent legislative pushes relative to AI, they focused on a range of issues. Data privacy is a big one, spread of non-consensual deepfakes, civil rights protections. But the promise of artificial intelligence really isn't something that Congress has taken up in a meaningful way. Just from your perspective, do you feel like folks are focusing too much on that risks of AI, edge of the sword, as opposed to the promises of artificial intelligence to do what we've talked about thus far, streamline things, make government more efficient, save money, act as a force multiplier for the individuals in roles like contracting, where it just takes so much in your brain to do a super effective job? Are we focusing too much on the risks, not as much on the potential of AI?
George, I'm not sure that we're focusing too much on risks. I mean, you do have to account for risks, and you do want to make sure that you're using AI or any other technology in a secure way, whether it's cloud or anything else. And you want to make sure you've got the right cyber protections in, because you don't want to have a deep fake AI actor suddenly get into your systems, and now you've got some real problems. On the other hand, I do think that government does need to use AI more. No one in government likes to be the first to use most technologies. We've seen that it took a long time for the government to adopt cloud computing, for example. Many steps. And once the first 2 or 3 agencies tried it, and the cloud didn't, come down with thunder and lightning on it, it was okay for everybody else to use it too. I'm hopeful we'll see the same thing with AI. We'll see agencies having success stories with it. In fact, there are already some smaller scale success stories. And what I'm hoping is that we'll see is that those success stories will breed and help create a culture where AI use is more normative and more like it is used in the commercial market. Now, it's never going to get to be like everything's being done in the commercial market, nor should it. The United States government has to have protections in place in order to ensure that its systems remain secure. But is there a tremendous amount of upside potential to make more use of AI? Absolutely. And I think we probably welcome input from the Hill, from industry, from whatever other stakeholders we have on how we can integrate AI more effectively into government operations.
Larry Allen, Associate Administrator for Governmentwide Policy and Chief Acquisition Officer, General Services Administration. I learn so much every time we talk. Thanks for being here, Larry.
George, thank you. It was real fun.
And thank you, our audience, for tuning in. I hope you're as excited as I am to continue exploring AI in the public sector. Join us next week, Tuesday, May 27th, same time, same great place for Episode 7, AI and the Congress, to learn how Congress views AI and thinks about its potential. For GovExecTV in our Watergate studios in Washington, D.C., I'm George Jackson. Have a great day. Welcome, everybody, to the 4th Annual Evening of Honors in Washington, D.C. at the Anthem. Let's meet some of the Fed 100 award winners, some of the folks here just to celebrate their remarkable achievements.
It meant a lot because it represented all of the teams that I got to work with in my career. I think it's a testament to being part of amazing teams in the federal government.
Well, it's a fabulous representation of all the people who work so hard in the public service, and nowadays the more we can celebrate them and celebrate the service that they have, that's really what it's all about.
It's a disruptive time, and I can't think of a better time than right now to acknowledge the enormous contributions that are made by those in the government management community, both in government and those who support government.
Who am I here with, and what do you do?
I'm Mike McGinley, and I'm the Director of Beauty's Gig Eagle Agile Talent Ecosystem. If you can benefit national security, how can you support your government? And we're using artificial intelligence to make those matches, so it's pretty cool stuff.
When you think of the power of our civil servants, what our government does in life of service, to be honored in support of that is truly a humbling experience.
This is the event of the year for us.
This is the Oscar of government officials that have made major historic contributions. We just love being here.
GovExec's Evening of Honors will be back, and better than ever, at the Anthem on April 30th, 2026. Secure your sponsorship today. Contact solutions at govexec.com.
HII delivers the most powerful naval ships ever built. That same innovation and dedication is applied to executing missions in complex and contested environments. We are leading the next evolution of national defense, the data evolution. That means anticipating emerging threats with C5ISR capabilities that enable a deep understanding of the environment across a wide range of assets. And with AI and big data platform capabilities that support threat analysis and cyber operations at an unprecedented data scale. Preparing warfighters for virtually every conceivable situation they may face with live, virtual, constructive, synthetic training environments critical to the all-domain order of battle. Making vast expanses of the Earth accessible for defense, research, and commerce, on land, under the seas, in the air, and in space. With world-leading autonomy and the largest family of UUVs in every class, making transoceanic missions possible. Ensuring the world's most capable and resilient platforms are always at the ready, on the sea, under the sea, and ashore. Maintaining a safe, secure, and effective strategic weapons stockpile and executing complex environmental remediation through a legacy of disciplined nuclear operations supporting the Department of Energy's mission priorities. We do all of this with a talented, diverse, and innovative team that is driven to solve our customers' most complex challenges. HII. Solving our nation's critical security needs by delivering the hard stuff done right around the globe.